So when you go to universities these days, whatever you see that is happening there is a reflection of what is happening in the bigger society. Some people have this premonition that, or idea, that NGOs are something that you do that does not have to bring in benefits. No, that's not true. When you are rendering a service, when you are solving a problem, there is always a reward that comes with it. Are you getting it?
From that aspect, how do you get financial support? How do you get cash or money to those?
Now, for example, during our own days, we were able to get some corporate organizations. You know, these are business organizations that want to reach out to their target market. Okay, let me give you an example. Am I allowed to mention companies?
Why not?
Because of the issue of paid advertisement. Okay, one of our major partners during those days was Cadbury. We also had GSK, makers of Ribena and Lucozade Boost. These were the two brands that were supporting us. And we had the United Foods, the makers of Indomie noodles, and some other companies I might not be able to remember. But these ones that I mentioned are the major pivoters. In fact, when we do programs and we don't invite them, they get upset. We get to that stage. We were so professional and consistent with what we were doing that as many times, there was a time we were even thinking we are disturbing these people. You know, that back then we didn't know how the corporate world works. So we didn't know that anytime we expose ourselves, expose the companies to our students, the top of the line marketing. In marketing, they call it top of the line, advertisements, helps them to sell. Do you understand? So basically, we have a budget. We need to pay for flyers. We need to get public address systems, standard ones. We need to provide refreshments for students that will be coming into the hall, and we present our budgets, and they support us either in cash or in kind. And in most cases, of course, there are miscellaneous expenses that may not be spent, and as a result, we retire it back to the purse of the organization. So we use it to support ourselves, and even some of the students that are challenged, not basically on a large scale scenario, but there are some students that may approach us and say, we need this, we need that. It's not just talk, you have to be able to impact. So basically, that is how we get funded. Then there was a time we did a concert. It was, I can remember vividly, it was tagged Stay Alive Concert. It was the first concert that we had, and we had the likes of Two-Face. In fact, I think that was the first time he came into LASU. We had Sam Sultan and some other up and coming artists as at that point in time. I remember that time Two-Face African Queen was still very hot, and of course the concert, the students were encouraged to pay a stipend. I don't know the amount, I can't remember, but it was a massive success. And subsequently, at least once in a term, in a session, we normally have at least one concert to conscientize. So the Stay Alive concert was actually geared towards a particular grotesque scenario that happened in school. So unfortunately, some students lost their life, and the school was almost closed down. So while we used that Stay Alive to conscientize students to be more conscious about why they are in school, not necessarily to show their ego, there were other initiatives from different angles that were also introduced. But I'm just speaking about our own. So basically, it's the student of my generation would definitely resonate with what I'm talking about. So that's exactly what was going on during that time. So that's how we get funding. Now, the funding is not as massive as you may have expected it, because if you're an NGO, you are not profit conscious. You are service oriented. You are consciously, your consciousness is about delivering the message.
Exactly.
So basically, the lifestyle that you promote in school, your kind of lifestyle, is not going to be the lifestyle of, frivolity, partying, and all that. Do you understand? So, but it was enough to see us through. Of course, we also have family members and some little business ideas, because at times the company may say, okay, cash is not approved for this particular project, but we can give you product that you can find a way to offload and use to augment. So that's basically how we're doing it, apart from every other legitimate sources.
So apart from your parents supporting you financially, those NGOs and Star Life events was also a source of income as an undergraduate.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's good to hear. The next question I'm going to ask is our school system, Nigerian educational system, focuses more on the developing job seekers. What is your thought about this?
Okay, honestly, I'm really happy over this question, because I personally, I like to write a lot. My thoughts, I put them down um, in written form, just to, offload some things off my chest. And I believe that helped me later in one of my career as someone that works in a news publishing, organization. Now, when I was growing up, I used to wonder that why is it that Nigeria has some of the best educated individuals in the world, but they seems not to be able to function effectively in this society.
Exactly.
In our society, they are only on fire when they find themselves mostly in the Western world, basically. So it now boils down to the question, or the speculation, like, are we being educated for the purpose of benefiting our country, or we are just there as a reservoir for the Western world? Because even today, some people think the jackpot syndrome is a new thing. No, it's not. It's just giving a new name that has gone viral as a result of social media expediency. So even as at 1985, after the IBB successful coup, a lot of Nigerian professors, doctors, engineers, they fled abroad because of the hardship that was in the society then. So right now, when you are looking at when we are looking at our educational system, it's highly flawed.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, you are educating a Nigerian to compete with a Briton using a British curriculum, or somebody in Cameroon that is now trying to compete with a Frenchman in France with their system, when there are issues in Cameroon that need to be resolved. Now, if you look at the countries that were able to get out from this evil cycle of retrogression, like Japan, China, India, they refused to use the template of the West, even though most of them were colonized, by the Western civilization. What they did is that they used that education to look at local problems or local challenges and find, a way to be able to, develop a curriculum that will be able to work for their society.
Exactly.
Now, in Nigeria, most people will not be proud to say, I'm a mechanic, even though the best engineers, electrical engineers or whatever, when they have challenges with their own machines or electronics, they will say have to go to them. They can be bragging and say, okay, I'm an engineer, this is what is happening, do this, but they can really not activate a kind of repair for whatever it is that they are having. That tells you something, that they are only theoretically trained. They are not practically, they are not hands-on on it. And as a Yoruba man, there's something that used to be very, very prominent among Yoruba people before now. Whether you are educated or not, you must learn a handwork. Whether as a mechanic or a carpenter or an electrician or whatever. So at the end of the day, some of these things are being eroded. So that's why we now have a lot of social vices, people who have brains, but they don't have the right mentorship to be able to direct them to the right path. So you have somebody who is smart, like Hush Puppy. Look at how he got the attention of the whole world with his brain. Imagine if Hush Puppy had a mentor like Elon Musk or Dangote or Otedola, provided they are willing to mentor such people. You can imagine the kind of billions would have been able to make with that same,
innovative,
smart brain. So, to me, I think we are miseducating generations of Nigeria, especially from the post-colonial era, because during the times of the regional system of government, prior to the gaining of independence, the regions, especially Southwest region, was far ahead of so many European countries. And that is because the education that Awolowo introduced, which is free education, real free education. This is not the education where you have to pay when you get a job, like the ones in the Western world. It was tailored, to identify your niche area, and you are able to, use it for the society. So right now we need to retrace our steps to look at the peculiarities in our society and develop curriculum. Not necessarily speaking English, but not also discarding or abandoning it. But young children of nowadays, when you speak to them in languages that are, their mother tongue, it is easy for them to grasp, So as it is only when you japa, so to speak, that you find out that you are smarter than even the people who are indigenous of the places in Western countries, in most cases. And even we have Nigerians that have gone to Japan and become the best student. There was a particular guy from Calabar, I've forgotten his name. He got there and he learned the language, working as a restaurant cleaner. And eventually he was able to solve a 300-year-old maths that nobody in Japan was able to solve. So you can imagine, it was until he went abroad, learned their language, understood.
If he has not gotten the opportunity,
he could have just been like a normal guy.
The next question I'm going to ask you, sir, is: do you think there's a conspiracy behind the Nigerian educational system's failure to implement financial literacy initiatives in all of these institutions?
Yeah. I believe there is a conspiracy, even though it's not pronounced, but it is evident. Now, you go to school to study banking and finance. How many financial solutions and products have Nigerians themselves, developed? That's one. Secondly, the ledger system that we have today, when you get to when money is coming in, you record it in the right. When you are spending or your expenditure, you record it in the left and everything. Of course, it's the basics. But today, for example, when last were you credited for leaving a particular amount of money in your account?
Debit.
You are only debited, but that's not even the issue. Now we are looking at financial literacy, and the question is that is there a conspiracy against us? Yeah, there's definitely a conspiracy, in the sense that, for example, yesterday I read in the papers online, I think in Nairametrics, where IMF, the International Monetary Fund, is faulting the reforms that the president is actually, executing currently. Now, I know a lot of people have negative perception of the president, and rightly so, because you cannot flog a child and ask the child not to cry. But when you are flogging that child for probably doing something wrong, you are not flogging the child because you hate that child. You are flogging him or her because you want that particular child, to desist from a particular vice. Now, there is nothing the president is executing right now that he did not tell us in his campaign. When you are driving with your mouth from Lagos to Abuja, you will not get any accident. And if you are even going over any bumps, it's going to be smooth. But when you put a vehicle on the road and drive, then you know that there are so many things that are involved.
Exactly.
You have to use your brain. You have to be calculative. You have to be alert. And you have to be perseverant. You have to persevere, because to drive from Lagos to Abuja, that's about 9 hours, journey. You cannot afford to sleep on the steering. So there's a difference between I'm going to Abuja, I'm going to pass through Jeba from Ibadan. I'll connect to Oshogbo. From Oshogbo, I'll go to Kwara. You can use your mouth and describe it. It will look so flawless. But when you are executing, there are places where the roads are going to be bad. There are places where you might get traffic. People want to get ahead of you. You yourself, you want to go ahead. So executing a particular plan or project is a different ball game from proposing what you will do. As a matter of fact, most of the leading candidates during the last election, they also said the same thing. In fact, some of them said they would do things that the president has not even, proposed. So, however, we know for a fact that subsidy must go. Yes, I agree that probably the way the president announced the end of subsidy from his speech, from what we hear or what we are reading from the grapevine, is that it was not included in his acceptance speech. But he has a strategy. The good, the bad, the ugly of this administration is going to be placed on the president. Today, anybody that is insulting or criticizing Jonathan, do you remember Jonathan's vice president? You may, but you may not even remember him. It was Sambo, somebody from the northwest or northeast. Do you remember the vice president, the finance minister of Buhari? It's only Buhari that you remember. Are you getting me? In fact, who is the education minister under Obasanjo from 1999 to 2007? Of course, there were many, but can you remember those people? You hardly, unless you are studying the government of that particular person, and you have to really go back to look at, okay, who was here at this particular time? So now, to me, when IMF, the International Bank for Development, as an IBRD or Reconstruction and Development, or the Bretton Woods system, when they are criticizing Africa and trying to push their own policy, personally, my antennas of caution is always out that definitely this person is doing something right. Are you with me? That means this person is doing something right, because what they proposed to us in the 1986 introduction of the structural adjustment program, what they introduced to us was basically what led us to this particular impasse that we are right now. Everything they told us would help us ended up hurting us. So that's basically why I believe that there is a conspiracy against not only Nigeria, but African countries from actually coming up. And if you see, now that we have a reemergence of multipolarism, I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. Before, we have a unipolar world. Everybody looks up to America. Sure. Are you getting me? But now we have countries that are now saying, enough is enough. You don't have to force your policies, your financial tools, which is the weaponization of dollar and everything, on us. Africa and China are now entering a level of synergy. We are now seeing infrastructures coming up, power plants, rail lines, some industries are coming up. Whereas before the mid 2000s, when last did Nigeria build any major railway? The Ajaokuta Steel Complex, which was initiated in 1979, is still yet to be completed today. You know, and it was even designed to fail because where the raw materials will be sourced is in Itakwe, a place called Wari, Itakwe, and they deliberately set up the factory in Kogi State, in a place called Ajaokuta. Now, from Itakwe to Kogi State or Ajaokuta is about 230 kilometers. Now, Lagos to Ibadan is 130 or 125, as the case may be. Now, that's about twice the distance. So you want to build a power plant, still the steel industry, which is the backbone of our technological advancement. You have to transport the raw materials from Wari and go about 210, 220, or 230 kilometers to where you are going to, refine them into finished product. That's a deliberate, action to make the project to fail. Are you getting me? They should have built that Ajaokuta steel complex somewhere in the Niger Delta so that everything will be there. Now look at our oil. The oil is in the south, but who are the people actually enjoying it? The pollution and the degradation of the environment is being enjoyed, or let me say suffered, by the host community, while every other part of Nigeria, as the case may be, are enjoying the proceed of the oil. So in a nutshell, those who design the economic impact or economic exploitation of Nigeria, they designed it in such a way that there will be constant conflict. Somebody from the north is having oil wells, while the owners of the land and the oil, they can only see people, and you are angry that, or you are wondering why they are agitating. Are you getting me? So we need to be able to look at all these parameters and see how we can create a paradigm shift so that there will be a balance, a kind of equilibrium where everybody will feel a sense of belonging, that this is Nigeria. That's why we are not seeing ourselves as a nation. Are you getting me?
Got it.
That's why we are not seeing ourselves as a nation, because the resources that we have, which is abundant, is being enjoyed by some, while others are just watching.
Okay, that is massive, very educative as well. So, cut the long story short, I just want to ask you just one more question, and I want a very quick response to that. So, what advice do you have for someone watching this video who is a dropout, or someone who is a graduate but is yet to do something good for him or herself? What advice?
Okay. Well, the truth of the matter is that dropping out from school or graduating and not yet getting a job is not a showstopper. It's not a showstopper. As long as you have your two hands, you have a functioning brain, and in a society where we have a lot of challenges like Nigeria, all you need to do is to calm down, sit down, get yourself. Now, most people don't use papers and biro. You can have your phone. You can even do a voice note to yourself. You can do a voice note to yourself and start thinking about possible ways that you can attend to a particular solution. Another thing is this. Everybody has a passion. You asked me a question at the beginning of this podcast that what was my ambition? Among many other things, I said diplomacy. Right now, I'm a data sales consultant in a telecoms organization. It was far from what I wanted to do. However, while the job I'm doing as a consultant allows me to interface with, business partners of the blue coil company that I'm working for, it also it also gives me the opportunity to be able to advise on how they are able to spend their money and meet their target and everything. Like I said, the portfolio of accounts that I manage about 18 accounts. And the combination of these accounts are running into billions on a monthly basis. They must deliver that target, and the onus is on me and my fellow team members, which we're about 11 or 12, to ensure that they deliver month on month. Are you getting me? Now, away from myself, anybody that is probably a dropout or another a graduate looking for a job, all you need to do is to discover your passion, your niche, and work towards, either creating a service, solving a problem, or profiling solutions to complex issues. It doesn't have to be academic. For example, this beautiful studio that we are doing this particular podcast is a brainchild of somebody. The person could have said, I can't do this. Where would I? Or maybe the person is looking at it, but this studio is a product of passion of someone. And I'm sure this session is not free. So definitely a service is being provided, and it is giving us a medium to reach out to thousands or if not millions of people. So if you are a carpenter or you have interest in carpentry, in electricals, and you are educated, once you learn the rudimentaries, you can now come up and say, I'm going to do it this way, and you can use technology and digital platforms to be able to reach out to people. I watched a particular graduate who was in this kind of scenario where he couldn't get a job. So he now learned about interior decorations, and in that short video on Facebook, I saw what he was doing in such a way that the background of a particular living room, he designed it in such a way that it was almost as if it was like under the sea. There's a way he designed that stuff that when you are moving around, you think you are watching a massive aquarium. And the place was in Lekki. You can imagine how much he's going to charge for that. And a lot of people were asking for that person's contact. So this generation is lucky because of the digital explosion that is going on right now. Yahoo is not the way. It's never the way.
Not at all.
You can easily direct. One thing about life is that the negative is always charged. It's constant. The negative is there. It is you that will now activate your positive side to create a spark that will, that will activate progress or motion. So that's the way I see it.
I really appreciate it. I'm very sure my audience are going to learn a lot from this piece of advice. Now, I personally want to say that financial literacy, it is your handwork. It is a task that we ought to learn and we ought to do. As a person, as an organization, as a church, as an individual, or as an institution, we need to take up financial literacy as a priority, like as what we do, as what we must do every day. Just like you cannot do a day without eating. Also, financial literacy needs to be taken with full responsibility and priority. Without this, there'll be a lot of catastrophe, a lot of negativity happening because a guy at age 21, 22, 23 wants to have money. He or she wants to live a comfortable life, and there's no way behind it. So if the guy is financially educated, he'll take a step after the other, and he will know that with time he's going to accomplish task and he's going to have what he requested, what he wants. So I remain Sonny Sound. Please do it to subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow my page on Facebook, like, comment, and share. Thank you.